Well, hi everybody, if you're out there watching, we're back with Nerds of Flight, except this time I'm in the wrong seat. I'm over here on the right side of the airplane. I brought my autopilot with me today. This is 15-year-old Natalie.
Hello.
Who has about 30 hours of flight instruction now. We're going to go out and get number 31 today as we practice some, probably going to do some stalls. We're going to do some of the, maybe a little bit of steep turns if we have time. And we're going to come back and do some ground reference maneuvers. We're going to do turns around a point, and we're going to try some S-turns across the road before we come back and work on some landings. Maybe do a go-around or two and see how that works out. But we're just going to have fun, mostly. We are in no danger of failing a check ride today. Today's all about learning and practicing, so it doesn't really matter. If we make a mistake here or there, we'll correct it as we identify it, and we'll be okay. All right. Park and brake released, and we are ready to go. So our radio call will sound like who we are, where we are, and what we want to do. So that'll be what?
It'll be Habs to traffic. Skyline 74 Tango Papa is departing runway 14 for a southeast departure.
Southwest departure.
Southwest departure.
Yep.
Habs
Okay.
to traffic.
Go ahead and make your call, and then let's do it.
Okay. Get it going here. Habs to traffic. Skyline 74 Tango Papa is departing from runway 14 for a southwestbound departure. Habs to traffic. Was it
Very
southeast?
good.
Okay.
We're ready to go.
Our wheels are straight.
Okay.
We're going to add our power.
Here we go. Nice and slow. There we go. Takeoff power is set. My gauges are all green. Nice job staying on the center line. Airspeed's alive. There's 40.
40 knots and rotate.
And 45 rotate. There you go. Nicely done. And we're off and running. A nice job staying over that center line. It takes a lot of right rudder when you have that full power in there. Getting almost 28 inches today. That's real good. When you're free, you can make your radio call that 74 Tango Papa is right crosswind runway 14 heading southwestbound.
Right crosswind.
Right crosswind.
Right crosswind, runway 14.
Southwestbound.
Southwestbound.
Yep.
Let me do that again. Okay. November 74 Tango Papa. Runway is right crosswind, runway 14, turning southwestbound.
There you go.
Habs traffic. Habs traffic. Skyline 74 Tango Papa is right crosswind for runway 14, turning southwestbound. Habs traffic.
Good. Now actually do that. Do that.
I thought you meant on the radio again.
And don't forget to move your heading bug. So there's south and there's west. So what I'm going to do is rotate the heading bug kind of in between them in the middle there.
All right.
Okay, so climbing through 2,800. Keep going a little bit. So let's see. This would be Class E airspace out here. So what would be the cloud clearance and visibility requirements for me to maintain VFR in Class E airspace?
Well, you need 3 miles of visibility.
Okay.
You would need 1,000 feet of clearance above the clouds.
Okay.
You would need 2,000 feet of distance horizontally.
Okay.
And you would need 500 feet between you below the clouds.
Right on. Okay, so we got to be 500 feet below these clouds above us. So what I'll do is I'll get my tape measure out.
Go climb out on the wing.
That's right. So we just have to be good stewards and good pilots and kind of estimate there. I think we probably have a good 1,000, maybe 1,500 feet to go before we get to those. So if we can make it up to like say 4,000 feet and still be legal VFR, then I think we can do our maneuvers.
Runway 14.
So before we do any maneuvers at all, we always do a clearing turns. So we can either turn 90 degrees that way and 90 degrees that way and look above us and below us and all around, up and down, trying to find that traffic. Or we can do a 180 and look all the way around, or we can do a whole 360. But the point is, we're doing turns to clear the air and make sure we're not doing a bunch of maneuvers right into somebody's traffic. So why don't you give me a nice, gentle, easy, slow turn, maintaining your altitude to the left, and we're going to look for traffic out here before we do anything.
All right, here we go.
There you go. And always remember, as we increase our bank angle for the roll, that increases the load factor on the airplane. So we have to come up with some way to get us some more lift when we do that. That means either we got to increase our back pressure, which changes the angle of attack, or we'd have to find some speed. That'd either be power or pitch. And we don't have any more power that we want to add today, so we're going to do it with pitch today and just hold our attitude correctly here. And you're doing a wonderful job, by the way. Any traffic above us, below us, out on the horizon, that's what we're looking for, so that we have nice clear skies. So we came all the way up here to 4,000 feet because we want to see what it's like to do the stalls today. And so there's two different kinds. We have approaching stalls. That's what we call the power off stall. That's like we're approaching an airport. So that's typically in the dirty configuration. That'd be gear down, flaps down, like you're landing. And then we have the departure stalls, where it's like we're taking off and climbing. Nice job on your turn there. We'll go wings level, and right about 40 feet is all you lost there. That was real nice. And of course it's going to balloon back up when you go wings level, so relax that back pressure. Very nice, very, very nice. Okay, so since we're already clean, we're going to start with the clean stall. So this would be the way the airplane stalls when we are in the departure configuration. So typically we're going to have lots of power. We're going to have a pretty high nose-up attitude because we're climbing away from the airport. We don't have any flaps or anything. We're in the clean configuration. Now the thing is, right now we're going along at about 90 knots or so, which is pretty fast. There's a lot of energy in the airplane. So if you began to pitch up right now, you'd probably climb 1,000 or 1,500 feet by the time it gets a high enough angle of attack attitude and bleeds off all that airspeed, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I like to do when I'm setting up for this stall series is I make sure the airplane's clean, which we are. Flaps are up, gear is obviously down and locked in this airplane. We've cleared our area, so I'm going to make a radio call. Lake Havasu traffic, Skylane 74 Tango Papa is about 7 miles to the southwest, and we're maneuvering at 4,000 feet and below. That'll alert anybody that we're out here. We've already cleared the area, but that doesn't mean that there's not somebody out there we can't see.
Yeah.
So we'll do that real quick. Lake Havasu traffic, Skylane 74 Tango Papa, about 7 miles to the southwest of the airport at 4,000 feet, maneuvering from 4,000 and below Lake Havasu. Okay, slow the airplane way, way down, and then slowly add my power back in. Now, if you're really taking off, typically you're going to be at full power, but you'll have an extremely high nose attitude in this aircraft if you do it at full power. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it at about 18 inches or so.
Okay.
And so we're probably going to be somewhere around 40 to 50 knots before the airplane actually stalls. So while I'm describing this to you, why don't you make a nice little circle here so we don't get too far back there. Just hold your altitude while you're turning. So what I like to do is I like to bleed all of the airspeed that I can off, then add the power in and start the climb, and that keeps me from zooming up like 1,000 feet or so, you know. So in this case what we'll do is we're going to bring our power back to about 10, 11, 12 inches, something like that, and we're just going to hold our altitude. And the only way we can do that without power is we're going to have to give up airspeed. When my airspeed starts to get down real low, like in this case probably around 50 to 55 knots or so.
This way?
That's fine. Then what I'll do is I'll start adding that power back in and pitching the nose up. But it's going to take a lot of nose up pitch in this aircraft because it has so much power, and we have those little canards out front, okay? So what we want to do is pitch up steep enough at the nose that we're going to lose about 1 knot of airspeed per second. So it ought to be 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, and we just keep getting slower and slower, and we can increase that back pressure until we either get to the airspeed where it stalls, or we're going to run out of elevator and we can't pull back anywhere. We'll hold it there, okay?
Okay.
Now the thing is, when the stall comes, you're going to get the stall warning horn. Now that is the indication that we have an imminent stall. We're not stalled yet, but we're getting near that. So we're going to go past the stall horn all the way to the stall. Now the indications that you're going to stall are you're going to start to feel some buffet in the airplane as the airflow separates across the top of the wing. So the tail might buffet, the wings might buffet, and in extreme cases you'll actually reach the stall point and the nose will actually begin to fall. So what we need to do when that happens is recognize the fact that without the wings generating lift, we're going to be subject to all the other forces on the airplane, and that means a lot of engine torque out there. And Isaac Newton said that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So our propeller's out there going around this way, well the airplane's naturally going to want to roll that way as the nose falls. The natural reaction to fight that roll is to make our ailerons roll the other way. But we don't want to do that because the adverse yaw that's created, for example, let's say the airplane rolls left, we move our ailerons to the right, that left aileron is going to be digging down into the air, causing more drag. It's going to want to make the nose yaw even more to the left. And if you get into that situation where I've got a lot of left yaw and a right aileron, we're going to be in a cross-controlled stall, which can lead to the spin condition, where the incipient spin. We need to fix that in a hurry, or it's going to develop into a full spin, okay? So the procedure is going to go like this. We're at 4,000 feet. We're on our heading. So as a reminder, let's go ahead and set our heading bug up. So what we're going to do is reduce our power to about 10-12 inches to get the airplane slowed down. We're going to continue backing that pitch up and fighting to not let the altitude change, because it's going to want to lose altitude. When our airspeed gets down around the bottom of the green arc there, around 50 or 55 knots, we're going to slowly start adding that power back in until we get up around 18 or 20 inches of manifold pressure. But as you do that, it's critically important to keep the airplane on that heading, which means you're going to need a ton of right rudder. Otherwise, all that engine torque is going to want to pull the airplane to the left. We're going to continue pitching up in that attitude till we get the stall warning horn, till we get the buffet, and then when the stall actually comes, we are immediately going to bring the ailerons to level neutral. We're going to push the nose forward to level, or just maybe a degree or two below the horizon. What that will do is break the stall. We'll start picking up airspeed, but we're going to be losing altitude. So at that point, we want to pitch back up to VY, which is going to be about 70 knots in this airplane, and hold our heading. Do you want to try it, or do you want me to demonstrate first?
Why don't you demonstrate first?
Okay, so I have the flight controls.
Give the flight controls.
I have flight controls. I'm going to turn back around here, just so we kind of have a little more space to play with. We'll go out this way, so we'll put our heading bug over there. All right. So once you ride the controls with me, don't add any force, anything, but I want you to understand what we're actually doing. Okay, so we're on a heading here of about 100 degrees, 103, and we're level at 4,000. We're not climbing or descending. So what I'm going to do is take my power, and I'm going to bring it all the way back, slowly, nice and gentle here, to about 10 or so knots. Now the airplane naturally wants to nose down, but I'm not going to let it. I'm just going to keep holding the nose up here, trying to keep my altitude as much as possible. Remember, we're in the climb configuration of this stall, right? Takes a lot of back pressure. Put a little force on here. If I let go, I want you to feel it. No, like pull back. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
See how much force it takes? So I would obviously be trimming some of that off. There's 60 knots. There's 59, 57, 56, 55. Now at 50, I'm going to start adding that power back in, and you're going to see that in order to hold my heading, there's 50 knots, and it takes a lot of right rudder. So I'm going to push that power up like this. There's 18, and I'm going to continue pitching my nose up. And the more I do, the more right rudder I need. So you can see we get a really high nose attitude in this aircraft, and I just keep pulling back. There's the stall warning horn. There's the buffet. There's the horn. A little bit of buffet, and as that nose drops, like right about now, when it comes, I'm going to go ailerons neutral, lower the nose. There it is. Lower the nose so I can see my airspeed comes back, and I'm losing a lot of altitude even though my airspeed's coming back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start pitching the airplane for VY, and I'm going to add some power. When I add that power, now I get my climb going so I can get my airspeed back. Okay? I'm going to reduce my power back again. So can you see how extreme that maneuver really is?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be extreme if you keep control of the airplane. And the minute you get that buffet or you get the nose dropping off, if you lower the angle of attack, the airplane will start flying again, but it doesn't mean you're not losing altitude. So once we get control of the airplane and the airspeed, we go ahead and add that power and get our altitude back. What do you think? Can you handle that?
I think so.
Okay, you have the flight controls.
I have the flight controls. So, going to turn around back here? Can we just
We can turn around and go this way if you want. Nice.
What are we bringing it to again, sorry?
You're bringing your power back to about 10 or 12.
Okay.
And there you go. You're going to pitch up till about 50. That's a little too much right rudder. There you go. And now slowly start adding your power back in. There you go.
Back up to 18.
There's the stall horn. Lower the nose. Okay, more power. There you go, right there. Okay, now pitch up. And then a right rudder, right rudder. There you go. Okay, we're 60. Keep pulling back until you lose that airspeed. So just like, leave your power. It's a power on stall. Sorry, I didn't communicate very well. Okay, so we got 18 inches. And on the throttle.
On the throttle?
We're going to raise the nose to give away that airspeed. There you go, there's 50, keep coming back. Little right rudder, there you go. Yeehaw, little right rudder, right rudder, right rudder. There you go, keep coming back. There you go, lower the nose. There you go, lower the nose to about there. Now you're getting your airspeed back, so add your power in and start climbing. Climb at VY, which is 70 knots. Push the nose forward a little bit, add power. Push the nose forward.
Add power.
And add power, there you go. Nice. 70 knots, and we're climbing like crazy, so we're back in our good climb. Okay, reduce your power for me back to about 17 or 18, and we'll climb or descend back down a little bit. Good job. That's a pretty extreme maneuver in this aircraft. It has a lot of power. You got a lot of lifting surface out there, so it takes a lot to get used to. We'll practice that a bunch more before your check ride, obviously. But the key is, the minute you think you're in a situation where you can stall, you gotta lower the nose. You gotta get that angle of attack down and get the airflow moving back over the top of the wing again. And okay, and you'll be just fine. We're 4,500 feet now. Okay, this one's a little less extreme because we won't have as much power on, right? We're in the landing configuration. So our power is going to be much, much lower. You won't have nearly as much engine torque that you have to fight. But we are going to have full flaps, which means you're going to have a ton of drag. And what that means is that when the stall comes and you lower the nose, you're going to have to get the airspeed going, and you're going to have to get the airplane climbing. So what's going to happen is you're going to lower the nose and start adding power. When you do, the nose is going to want to come right back up because of all that power. So you've really got to push forward and hold that nose, get the power in, start bringing your flaps up a little bit at a time so we can get this thing clean and climbing again, okay? So we're going to be pitching for like 60 to 70. Bring the flaps from full to 20 right away when you get full power. So it's going to be like this. Lower the nose, full power, flaps to 20, pitch for 65. Once you get established a climb, and we know we're good, then we're going to go milking our flaps from 10 to 20 just like a normal takeoff. Okay?
Okay.
Would you like me to demonstrate first?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have the flight controls. So we're slow enough to get our flaps to 10 now, so I'll go ahead and do that. And what I'm going to do is just kind of bring my power back here. And the whole name of the game is I'm at 4,400. So the name of the game here is to basically try not to lose altitude. Then I'm going to go flaps 20. And I'm going to bring my power back here to about 12. Works real good. Give us a little bit of trim. Okay, now I'm basically trying not to lose altitude. So I'm going to go flaps full. And I'm going to pitch up for the stall. There's the horn. Okay, when it comes, I'll lower the nose. There it is, lower the nose. I'm going to start adding power, but I'm not putting full power because it takes a lot. Now I got to get that airspeed. Okay, now I'm full power, but look how much I'm holding the nose forward. A lot. I'm going to start milking my flaps out. Keeping that nose so I can get some airspeed. And I'm not dancing on the rudders here. There's 60. I got a little climb going. Bring my flaps up to 10. And I can trim as necessary. Now I'm safe again. Got full power. Basically, I'm climbing out of the airport. Okay? And flaps up. And we're looking good. I can start bringing my power back. So that was not nearly as extreme, the actual stall. But what does get extreme is when you lower the nose and add all that power. Wow, you really got to work on that, keeping that. Because what it'll do is the airplane, you add power, it'll just pop straight up, and you'll be in an accelerated stall where we're now stalled again, and we got to start all over again. Okay?
Altitude traffic.
Flaps are up.
1776 Whiskey at the Air Center. I'll be departing the taxiway parallel 14, and then eastbound. Havasu.
Pick a nice little heading over here. I'll bring your power back. You have the flight controls.
I have the flight controls.
Okay, let's go flaps 10.
Flaps to 10.
And bring your power back a little bit more, just like we're descending for the airport, except we're not going to let the airspeed, we're not going to let the altitude go away on us. All right, you're slow enough for flaps 20. And remember to keep the ailerons neutral and dance with your feet to keep the nose there where you want it. Okay, full flaps. Okay. And it's going to take a lot of nose down and add power right away. So you almost want to have one hand on the power. Go ahead and start bringing your power back. There's the stall horn. Bring that power back for me. There you go. Keep the airplane going straight with your feet. Keep bringing it back. Bring the nose up, nose up. There you go. And 32, boom. Stall, add power, good. Keep the airplane going straight with your feet. Keep that nose down till you get some airspeed. Now slightly up, good, good, good. A little more power. There you go, like we really want to climb. Okay, so let's lower the nose so we can get our airspeed. And then get your flaps from full to 20. Good. So it's hard to accelerate like that because you got so much drag. You're only getting 50, 52 knots. There's 60. Looking for 65. And flaps 10.
Oh, 10.
Now, you only went into about 20 inches there. You had a lot more power left that you could have done. So when you do this maneuver, I want you to do it all the way on full power, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's try it again. Let's...
Flaps up?
well, let's just try the maneuver again. So reduce your power and add full flaps. And we'll just do it over again. So which one do you like better, the power on or the power off?
I think both of them have different things about them. Like the power, this one we've just done is power.
That's power off.
Power off. That one definitely took a lot more like arm strength and pulling back to get it to stall.
Yeah,
but the other one, you were pulling it back for much longer.
Yeah, you're in a much more extreme angle of attack. Because when you add power, it naturally wants to pitch the nose up. When you don't have the power, you're doing it all. That's way harder. Okay, let me have the flight controls for a minute.
All right, you have the flight controls.
I have the flight controls. I'm going to reduce our power here so we can lose some altitude. And we're going to see if we can try a ground reference maneuver. So in order to do a ground reference maneuver, we need to know where the wind is. Now when we took off, the wind was basically coming out of the southeast there. It was 150. So what I'm doing now is I'm looking at the ground to try to figure if I can find any flags or wind indicators or dust devils or anything like that. But these particular maneuvers are done much closer to the ground. So we do our stalls way up high, so if we get in trouble, we can have lots of altitude to recover. But where we want to do ground reference maneuvers is close to the ground. And we want our reference, you know, our point. So we have two that we're going to practice today. One's called turns around a point, where we find a specific point on the ground, and we keep a constant radius around that point. And the idea of the maneuver is it's trying to get us to divide our attention from outside the airplane so we can look at where we're going, and inside the airplane to make sure we're on the right airspeed, right altitude, that kind of stuff, and keep the airplane, you know, coordinated the whole time. So as we do this maneuver, it's important to understand where the wind is because our bank angle is going to need to change based on how much wind we have. When I have a tailwind, my speed across the ground is going to be really high, so I'm going to have to turn sharply or it's going to blow me way away from my target. When I have a headwind, though, I'm going to have a very shallow bank angle, otherwise it's going to go right to my target. So for example, if we pick a target out here, like, see those two water tanks on the ground over there? There's some green grass, those water tanks. So what we want to do is set ourselves up to enter the maneuver at about 1,000 feet above the ground. So let's say somewhere around 2,500 feet probably would work good for us. And we're going to be at normal kind of like traffic pattern speed. So for us, that's right here about 90 knots. And our power setting works real good for that. So we're going to want to turn around and go the other way so we have a tailwind. I'm going to set myself up to be maybe a quarter to a half a mile away from those tanks. Now because we're going to be going downward, we're going to have a lot of ground speed. So I'm going to start a left-hand turn and a roll and adjust how much bank angle I have, but looking outside and making sure, look, if I'm getting closer to it, then I'm going to lessen my bank angle. If I'm getting farther away, I'm going to increase my bank angle and try to keep my distance around those towers the same all the way around the turn, okay, without gaining or losing a bunch. And keep in mind, if my airspeed isn't changing, then my altitude's probably not changing either. So we got 100 knots of ground speed, only 89 knots, 101, 90, you know, 10 or 11 knot ground speed. So now that we're basically abeam those towers, I'm going to start my bank. And what I'm doing is I'm drawing an imaginary circle out there on the ground, and I've got my eyes fixed on what my path should be. So I've got my bank angle. If I turn in too sharp now, it's going to drag me over there close to them. If I don't turn sharp enough, then I'm going to get too far away from it. I'm keeping the ball centered, so I'm looking inside, I'm looking outside. Probably don't need quite as much power there. So now what I'm doing is I'm turning to where that wind is going to be off our left, like a crosswind. I'm adjusting. Again, I've got that imaginary line out there on the ground. I can see the circle in my brain where I need to be so that I keep my distance the same. And my actual bank angle now has got to get shallower and shallower so I can stay the path that I want on the ground Like I'm almost wings level here because my ground speed's slowing down. So again, I'm just looking at my instruments, making small adjustments, and then looking out there at my ground, and I look out here for traffic, and I can see the path that I want to be on the ground. So I like to pick little stuff. Ooh, that bush right there, I want to fly over that bush. Then I move out there, that tree, that car, that whatever. And so as I turn here, I'm going to have to really flat bank angle because the wind's going to want to push me that way right into it. If I have much bank angle at all, I'm going to end up right over the top of it. So again, I find those little spots on the ground that I want to go over. I can see my towers out there to my left. This is great. It's working out great. I haven't done this maneuver in years and it looks like I'm a pro, right? So real shallow flat bank angle here. Don't get excited. Turn too early. But what's going to happen is I start rounding the corner, then what?
Then the wind's going to be pushing you that way.
So I'm going to start increasing that bank angle. Otherwise, I'm going to get too far away from it. Okay, and I can see him off my shoulder there. I got my spot on the ground that I want to go. My altitude's looking good. So I look inside, I adjust my pitch and my power. I look outside, I adjust my position. I look inside, I adjust my pitch and my power. Okay? So we're looking pretty good here. Got a pretty flat angle, and I'm starting to roll more bank angle in as we get over here. So as we go facing north again, you tell me how far I was off from my original starting point. How did I do?
You're pretty close.
All right, you want to try it?
Sure.
Hey, you have the flight controls.
Right, I have flight controls.
All right, so draw that mental picture on the ground. So now you got a tailwind.
Okay, start turning.
Yep, and then look inside and look outside and make sure you're close to your altitude that you started at, 2,500. Draw that picture on the ground. Figure out where you want to put your airplane. Yeah, good. See, as that wind starts to push you, you make adjustments. Every once in a while, I pick my head up and I look outside for traffic too. And of course, we're listening on the radio. Nicely done, very nicely done. Right on your airspeed, right on your altitude. Okay, so now we have a direct left-hand crosswind, so our bank angle is going to start getting shallower as it wants to blow us away from it. And then it'll increase just a tad as you go around the corner. And get real flat as that thing gets those tanks get off. See how you start to get into the wind, all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, I'm right on top of it. And that will even get more extreme as you get over here and the wind changes from your right side, your left side to your right side. Very nicely done, that. Okay, so the next turn we're going to do is called S-turns across a road, and it's the exact same concept, except what we want to do is we want to turn, so like see this long straight road out here, that'll work real great. So we're going to vary our bank angle so that we're always wings level when we cross the road, okay? So let's go ahead and turn like this. I'm going to help you. You still have the flight controls, but I want to see if we can get turned here and be wings level by the time we cross the road. When we do...
This dirt road right here?
Yep, that goes all the way out this way to our right. So when we do, we're going to be wings level, and we're holding our altitude here. And we're going to make a right-hand turn. Let's keep turning so we're nice and perpendicular as we cross the road. And we're going to make a right-hand turn and try to make an arc and get back to the road with wings level. And when we do, we'll go left. Just make a big S-turn.
Okay.
Okay?
Ready?
So you have the flight controls.
I have flight controls.
We are just about over that road. So your wind's coming from that direction.
Turn.
Yep, draw your arc on the road of where you think you want to be. Inside and outside to watch that altitude. So as we have a tailwind, we need a real steeper bank angle. Good. So there's our, now we're in a tailwind. Inside and outside. There you go. Keep that ball centered. Nice steep angle. Then it starts to shallow out. Oh, keep coming. Come around. You want to be straight parallel. Yep, exactly. And then as soon as your roll wings level, we'll start going the other way. Good. That right-hand turn one's tough, so let's see how you do on the left one. So we're transitioning now from a direct crosswind on our right to a quartering tailwind, to a tailwind, and then to another crosswind. Oh, let's hold our altitude now. There you go.
Perpendicular and roll wings level.
Roll wings level.
That was almost trickier than the other one.
Let's do another one to the left this time. You cross the road, I want you to turn right and just keep on sewing. Nicely done, except we need a little more altitude. We're turning into a headwind, so you need a nice flat, shallow angle.
How's the traffic, Star 720 Lima Mike, taxiing to runway 14 via see Alpha 6.
Hit the ground and see the arc out there.
Yeah.
And make adjustments. Of course, turning to the right like this is much more challenging, but you're doing a nice job.
Well, what I noticed too is if you can match up the road with that strut, you can tell if it's perpendicular.
That's right. And I'll tell you what, if you look at the tip of your wing and you do it right, it will look like the wing just stays on the road the whole time and all you do is pivot.
Yeah?
Try it now.
Okay. Going across this road?
Yep. Let's go to the right and just make your wing kind of pivot on the road.
Okay.
So if it's moving too fast, shallow your angle. If it's going too slow, then increase your angle.
We are not touching the wing to the road.
That wind gotcha. Here, let me have the flight controls.
Yeah, you have the flight controls.
We'll fix it a little bit here. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bank just enough to keep my wing, except when you lean forward, I can't see. Just enough to keep my wing looking like it's on the road out there. On the road again. If I go too much, and I kind of just come out here. And like I said, I'm just keeping the airplane, you know, as coordinated as possible. I got a big tailwind now. So I'm going to need a little more bank angle to get the job done. And I can see now, to me, from where I'm sitting, my wing is just kind of pivoting around that road. And I got to shallow it up as my wind changes. Tricky little maneuver, especially when you're looking across the airplane. Okay, very good on the S-turns across the road there. So we're 2,500, we need to be 1,800. Why don't you reduce the power and descend down to 1,800, and I'll call our 45.
All right.
Lake Havasu traffic, Skylane 74 Tango Papa's 2,400. We are 3.8 miles to the west, just on the west side of the river here, coming for a 45 to the downwind for runway 14 Lake Havasu. Looking good. So we want to be about 90 knots or so in the downwind, so we already know what power setting that takes, right? Takes about 15 or 16 inches of manifold pressure. So that'll get us there, but remember, we're going to have a big tailwind, so we don't have a lot of time to mess around.
Mooney at 562, Spec is taxiing from the ramp to runway 14 via Alpha, Lake Havasu traffic.
So we're going to do our pre-landing, before lane checklist dumps early in the downwind. Keep our spacing. When we get a beam, it's going to be power to 12, flaps to 10, start our descent, looking for basically 80. Then we'll turn base with flaps 20 and be 70.
Right, we're coming up on
1,800, so just reset your power back to 18 inches and it should take you where you want to go. And then stop your descent.
18 inches?
16 to 18 works real good.
Okay.
There you go. And then stop your descent with pitch. There you go. Perfect. Okay, you're on a 45. So I'll let you make the radio calls from here on out. Downwind, base, final.
Okay.
We're going to land with flaps 20, not full.
All right.
So we're going to be at 90 at the main downwind, do our gumps. After that, when we go past the numbers, it'll be 80, and then 70 on base, and then 60 on final. Okay.
Downwind?
Yep.
Havasu traffic, Skylane 74 Tango Papa is turning downwind for runway 14. Havasu traffic.
I think that button's a little sticky.
Yeah, it kind of goes on and off.
All right, so get squared up to the runway here, and then do your gumps check as early as possible.
Okay.
90 knots, looking good.
We square on that, or we're a little bit high.
Need a little bit more left. There you go. And it'll help set our heading bug there on 3-2. There you go.
Take some power out, we're a little high.
Okay, you do that. You're the
All right.
pilot, I don't know what I'm doing over here.
All right, so we do our gumps check.
Perfect.
We do gas,
Okay.
undercarriage, mixture, prop,
seatbelts, switches.
and switches. Landing light and nav.
Yep. And you're right, we're a little bit high. We'll leave the nav and do nav.
Okay.
Taxi. So bring some more power out. Go ahead and get your power to 12 inches.
All right.
And flaps to 10. We're downwind to beam the runway. I see one guy in the run-up area, one guy taxiing to the run-up area. So,
Okay.
gas, undercarriage, mixture. Now you can go prop all the way forward. And trim as necessary, so you don't have to be fighting the airplane. So we're a little slow because we're 72 knots. We want to be 80 here, but that's okay. We're going to turn base in a minute, and we're looking for 70. So remember, it's pitch for airspeed. If you need more airspeed, what do?
If you need more airspeed, you go pitch down.
There you go. So let's do that. We're a little slow. We want to be around 75 here. Because we're still kind of high. And you know what? We're at 13 inches, not 12, so why don't you fix that? That will help. Okay, when you're ready, call the base, turn the base, set your flaps.
Okay. Havasu traffic, Skyline 74 Tango Papa is turning base to runway 14, Havasu traffic.
Okay, then we'll turn base. We're looking for 70 on base. Keep coming. We're going to move our heading bug over here. 70 knots is what we're looking for. I'm going to move it all the way to 14.
We're going right for this mountain.
Well, we better not hit it.
I'm going to turn final.
Why don't you do your flaps first?
Flaps 20.
Traffic, Diamond Star.
There you go.
Lima Mike, holding short 14 for the traffic.
Okay, add some power. And turn final.
Havasu traffic, Skyline 74 Tango Papa is turning final for runway 14, Havasu traffic.
Okay, pitch for your airspeed. We want 60 knots. Pitch down and add power if you feel like you're too low. But don't let it get slow just because you feel like you need to do something, right? Okay, good. 60 knots. So you got 4 red lights. You're adding some power. That's good. And then be ready to take that power right back off. Now you're 65 knots. There you go. Pitch for 60. Okay, a little bit less power. There you go. And just work that pitch to hold that speed that you want. Now we got some red or some white lights. There you go. We take our power back off. 60 knots. Keep the nose going down to hold 60 knots. Nose down. There you go. Hey, you doing all right? Nice and relaxed?
I just always get tensed up during.
Yeah. Okay, keep that nose down just a little bit. Nose down. Nose down. There you go. A little more power. There you go. And then as you add power, it naturally wants to pop the nose up. So you got to actually push forward a little bit. There you go. Looking down the runway, start reducing our power. There you go. Little Scotia power for me.
Take it out.
Yep. Okay. Okay, let's go again.
All right, so trim for takeoff.
Yep.
And power in.
Yep. Okay, takeoff power set. Gauges are green. Airspeed's alive. 40 knots rotate. 50 knots rotate, sorry. Havasu traffic, Skyline 74 Tango Papa is on the go, runway 14. Good. 90 knots, 1800, absolutely perfect. Now focus. Where are you on the runway?
We are kind of like towards the endish, middle-ish now.
Okay, and you're kind of like this, right?
Yes.
So let's fix that.
720 Lima Mike on the crosswind.
Okay, good.
14, departing to the north.
So look at our ground speed. It's 110 knots. So just slow down a little bit when that happens. As soon as you get to the numbers, power to 12, flaps to 10.
Okay.
You can even start early, like say right now.
Power to 10. Power
Flaps
to
10,
12.
power to 12. Okay. Now, control your airspeed. See the same thing, you're like this again. So find a spot out there that you know is parallel to the runway and aim towards that. So good, we got about 500 feet per minute. Our speed is 80 knots, right where we want to be.
We need to sit back right crosswind runway.
And we're looking for the runway to be about 45 degrees for us. Nice job on the trim there. Okay, when the runway is 45 degrees to your shoulder, start your turn to base.
Okay. Havasu traffic, Skyline 74 Tango Papa is turning base to runway 14, Havasu traffic.
Okay, it's aviate, navigate, communicate. That means we fly the airplane first, we make sure we're going where we want to go, and then we worry about the radio. Don't get stuck doing your radio call and you end up in needles before you got done with it and haven't made your base turn. Okay, so on base, flaps 20. Okay, looking for somewhere around 70. Anywhere 70 to 75 is okay. We were a little on the slow side last time, so hold that. Add power if needed. Gas, undercarriage, mixture prop, seatbelt and switches, look good. So see, now all of a sudden it feels like you're going really slow because that wind is working against you.
Yeah.
You're 65 knots, I want 70 here. Good. Okay, final?
Havasu traffic, Skyline 74 Tango Papa is turning final for runway 14, Havasu traffic.
Havasu traffic, Diamond Star 720 Lima Mike is departing the area northwest.
And 60 to 65 will work real good for you. Let's try 60 to 65 this time, okay?
Okay.
Havasu traffic, Mooney 2 Spec is departing the pattern.
Give yourself a little, give yourself a little trim.
Trim, nose.
Up, nose up. There you go. That way you don't have to do so much. Your hands won't get sore if you're not fighting the airplane all the time. Good. There you go. See how much more relaxed that is now?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have to aim for the numbers either, by the way. We can be aiming past the numbers. A little bit of power and a little bit of nose down. That's nice. A little bit more. Every time you make your power changes, make them about like that, so you're not making these huge, like, zoomy changes. So we're 60 knots.
Like where we are positioned.
Well, then you have the power to change it. See how that nose keeps creeping up on you? Don't let that happen. Don't pull back. Let the airplane come down, and then when you get close to the ground, round out the flare. Okay, start rounding out. Hold it off, back, back, back. Power off. Power all the way off. And hold it back, all the way back, all the way back, all the way back, all the way back. Whew.
That was not good.
It was okay. That was a good flare. You were just about 5 feet too high.
Okay.
So let's go around again.
Okay.
You got more in you?
Yeah. Will you do this one?
All right, I got it. I have the flight controls.
Flight controls.
The takeoff power is coming in. Right rudder's coming in. Navigate, communicate. So I'll start my turn. I see where I'm going. Havasu traffic, Skylane 74 Tango Papa is now turning final runway 14 Lake Havasu. I'm doing my best to get lined up on the runway. I got 2 reds and 2 whites. I'm actually putting quite a bit of forward pressure right now on the yoke, so it's okay if I want to trim that off, but the reality is I know that when I take the power away, I'm going to need that back pressure. So I'm 70 and I really want to be 60 here, so I reduce the power, saying now I got to pull the nose up a little bit and trim it right back off. So normally I would have just left that trim in there. There we are, 63, 64 knots. We're coming down a lot though, and I don't like that. So I'm going to add power, which scoots me forward a little bit, but as I do that, I got to maintain that pitch for 60 knots, okay? So now I've got a nice flat angle coming all the way down to the runway. And what I'm going to do is as I get in close to the runway, I'm going to start slowly bringing the power out. I'm looking down the runway, not right in front of me. And as I pull the power off, I'm just trying to stop the airplane from landing. Power's all the way out, and I just hold it up as long as I possibly can and scoot up in my chair a little bit and just put it on.